Hi, Piper people. I'm hoping that you're doing really well today, and I want to take a few minutes since a couple of videos weren't working to redo them. Today's video is about the Columbian Orator, which is, as you may know already, this is a book that really had a lot of influence and impact on Frederick Douglass's life. It is a book on public speaking, which is really interesting because we wouldn't normally think that people would be are reading a book on public speaking, but this, as we know, the little vignettes kind of that Frederick Douglass gives us allows us to see some of the narratives that he was watching and reading about and learning about. Um, he is looking at not just what is happening in these stories, but how it's actually taking place. Public speaking has to do with bringing forth a message, being able to promote an idea, whatever that idea is, to an audience or even various audiences, which is something that Frederick Douglass learns to do very, very well. Later on in his life, after he escaped slavery, we know that he became an editor. We know that he became uh, an author. We know that he became a great orator, which is a public speaker. So a lot of these ideas that he's reading about and is just fascinated with, he's learning more than just reading or writing. He's learning about how to communicate, which is amazing, right? Especially for a young kid. So this Columbian Orator with, for example, the narrative of the slave and the master conversation. The slave has escaped three times and been brought back three times, and you can kind of imagine the conversation. Um, Here's this master who's got to be totally ticked off and trying to tell the slave, like, dude, what are you doing? You can't keep doing this. You know, you escape, I bring you back. You escape again, I bring you back. You're not going to get away. Why are you doing this? Well, that slave is going to be talking about these very smart and impressive things that he says. It's not just, hey, I don't want to be a slave anymore. There's got to be more to it than that. So he's going to talk about all the reasons why slavery is wrong, while the master's trying to promote the ideas of slavery. There's a lot of ideas, and historically we know that there's a lot of rationales, even pseudoscientific rationales for slavery. We see that a lot of that has to do with slaves being different, and I say that kind of, ironically, that if they could, science could dehumanize African Americans, especially anybody with darker skin, if they could dehumanize that person and make that person seem more savage, make that person like a brute, for instance, uh, then it's so much easier to treat an object the way you want. You know, people can kick a dog, and we don't like that, but you own a dog, you own a slave, but you can't own a person. That's a whole other thing. So what happens in this conversation is that the slave becomes human to the master. The slave is intelligent. The slave is able to argue in his own defense against the evils of slavery. And we know by Frederick Douglass's account that the master's consciousness is touched by this. Now, we don't know if the master had other slaves that he let go. We just know that this particular person was able to argue against slavery and to attain his freedom. Now, the other vignette that we have from the Columbian Orator is Sheridan's mighty speeches. And Sheridan is an Irish lawmaker who gave a series of speeches on Catholic emancipation. At the time, and throughout history, the Catholics and Protestants in Ireland have had a contentious relationship. And at one time, Catholics were very much persecuted. and even in some aspects enslaved. So the Sheridan speeches, this guy is a person who says, you know, everybody should be treated equally, that everybody has certain rights, like what we call inalienable rights, where everybody should have the right to dignity. Everybody should have certain specific rights to be able to live and have that equality, that same status as anybody who else, or anybody else who's a Protestant or Catholic or purple or yellow or whatever it is, you know, whatever that person is. This allows Frederick Douglass to see that you can give speeches to a larger audience, not just to one or two people like the slave master conversation. You can give speeches to larger audiences and have great impacts. So this is where that Columbian Orator, and let me show you, I've got a picture that we have already. This is an image of a real Columbian Orator from that time period. So you can see how old the paper is. And it says original and selected pieces. It's a variety that talks about the art of eloquence. So in other words, public speaking. And this book fascinated Douglass. We know that he became a great orator. We know that he would travel the United States and even went to England, and they loved him in some England. So we know that this is something that really impacted him more than just learning to read and write. I hope you enjoy the conversation. I hope you get into it. Check out the Columbian Orator. It is something that you need to remember, especially for a quiz, be able to explain what the Columbian Orator is and its impact and significance. Also be able to explain the two situations that he gives us examples from. That's going to be pretty important when it comes up to the Frederick Douglass exam. All right, you guys have a great day. Thank you so much for spending your time with me. Appreciate you.